All right, guys, that sound you hear is the clutch motor winding down on this Consew 225. This came with a load of machines from an auction for this was about $20. And the problem when I got back to the shop, the problem is that they have these 20 amp three-phase plugs where the tine on the neutral faces out. It's a lock plug, so all three of those tabs go into, or all four go into a receptacle and then turn to lock. And they've got these tabs facing out, whereas all of my equipment has a higher amperage, a 30 amp plug. Those are just 20 amp, and with a 30 amp plug, the neutral faces in. This is a pretty common problem with industrial. Once you get into industrial equipment, they really don't want people plugging the wrong thing in. You know, if you take a 30 amp piece of equipment and have a 20 amp plug on, it's a real fire hazard, and it's not good. So they want to make sure you can't even cross up the plugs by making them difficult to plug in or impossible to plug in. So this is a 30 amp plug, and I just stole it. I just robbed it from my bandsaw over here. Come take a look. All I did was off of my old bandsaw, this thing I had wired up with a plug, and I just nipped it. I just nipped the plug off of this. Just nicked it for this machine over here. The idea is to get. I want to take the best of the tables, which I'm not sure which of these is the best of the tables. I'll have to figure it out. It may have to be one of these two because they take inserts, and I got a pile of inserts. So the idea is to take one table and rig it up for various inserts. So for now, this I'm just using this table to test this particular machine out. So I just wired up the plug, fired it up, and it won't sew. What it does is it balls up all the thread, jams, breaks the thread, and the thread won't move. It won't pay out through the tension device. So that's the trouble with it. All right, guys. So I've got the problem isolated. At least this problem. I've got the problem isolated to this needle plate, which I think is a replacement needle plate, either NOS or replacement part. If I look at this needle plate, it's if we compare it with this needle plate, which is also from a Consew 225. This one is obviously much newer, and it has a part number on the top, 240144, which this one does not have. In any case, what was going on? I thought I might have to pull this foot and hone this foot. You can see there are a couple of burrs. The foot's been this feed dog rather. The feed dog's been pretty beat up. You can see it took some material, maybe a zipper or something. It took a run through there and chewed it up. But I thought I was going to have to hone this. It just wasn't fitting in, and it wasn't allowing this the little dog on the bobbin case to lock in and lock the bobbin case up. So what I did was scrape this area all out. It was filled with lint and garbage, as you'd imagine, and I'm trying to do this all while holding the camera. I got caught down here without my tripod again, so I'm just trying to make this segment up real quick. But I scraped all this out. It was filled with lint, and that's still not allowing this plate to fit correctly. The rear screw, when I go to thread this rear screw in, you can see where it bites. Where are you? See, it's cocked back quite a bit. It's not straight up and down. See how cocked back it is? All right, so I'll meet you over at the vise. Okay, so here we are at the vise. The needle plate is in the vise, and you can see I just have a wooden stick just made out of cherry, and I just take 120 grit sandpaper and use it like a file. I actually did try filing this, and it's fairly hard. It's a pretty hardened piece, so I wasn't able to file it. So using this just basically like a file, I just took this edge down, and you can see if I, of course, my shop is all set up, of course, for me so that I have light, which means that if I try to arrange it so that you guys can see anything, well, today it's not so bad. It's pretty cloudy, but these big windows are all behind everything, so it's tough to get a. There we go. I gotta pull everything out and turn it around. If you look at the original side, once it focuses on there, you can see it's pretty angled. You can see it's not right. It's not 90 degrees. And that draft is negative. And somebody might think that's on purpose to be able to lock into the throat, where the slide plates go, but that's not. These are actually angled back the other way. They were reversed. So all I did was hone that down to make one side square, and I honed this edge because the screw was leaning that way. So I wanted to bring it in. And now, the moment of truth. Let me get the camera. And we get the little screwy Louie. And come on, baby. Oh. It's going in. It's starting. And it looks much more straight up and down. If I can get my screwdriver on there, we can see. Yep, that's got it. I'm going to get a little better screwdriver. This one has a magnetic tip, and it keeps catching the release arm for the presser foot. But that's what I wanted to show you in this segment anyway, was just what I did to correct that plate. Just had to hone it back a little bit. Whoever put it in there before, I'm not saying they were lazy or tired. It might have been Friday afternoon or something. But they had this all at the factory. They had this all fit incorrectly. Now, as you can see, the dog wasn't stopping the bobbin holder, so it was just flying around in circles, causing the thread to mash up, and the feed dog wasn't able to come up through the plate. Now you can see the dog can come up through the plate. I've tightened the dog down. The dog was loose, and this screw was loose, and you can see you can see that screw's been butchered. See a little mash butcher marks. So that screw's been butchered, and the feed dog screw's been butchered. Someone got real frustrated with this, but they never picked the lint out, and they never honed this side so that it would just slide back nicely. So we're going to put that all together. Now you can hear it's like butter. All right, well, I made another interesting discovery here. The machine just wasn't paying out thread, and that was causing it to get locked up down in the bobbin. So I decided to disassemble the tension mechanism and just take a look. And I don't know if this is standard. This is the first Consew 225 I've ever disassembled. So I don't know if this is, they could all be like this for all I know. But this disc is not lined up. When you try to put it on there, it doesn't fit that pin. It was really bad before. I'm going to show you what I did. I tweaked it a little bit. I'm going to tweak it a little bit more and then see if that makes a big difference. So what I did was I put the nut, the little knurled nut, right back on the end here. And I did that to prevent this split post from spreading. When you apply force on something like that, it can spread. And then all I did was take the blade of a fine screwdriver, put it into that slot, and then very gently turn it. See how that disc now lines up? I'm going to try it like that, see if that helps. All right, so I changed the tension assembly completely. I got rid of almost all of the old parts that were on there. I don't know if they're Consew parts. You know, if I had real factory parts and I knew what was going on, I wouldn't be so cavalier about just ripping the guts out of these machines and trying them. But you know, considering that it's like a $20 machine, I figure what could really go wrong. All right, I'm going to try and sew this now. This is the first inaugural stitch. I'm going to try it on camera. Considering I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and considering that this is a clutch motor and the first of the clutch motors I've ever worked with, bear with me. I don't have my tripod and I don't want to sew my fingers to the project. And somehow in working on this, I've managed to botch the knee lift. I've worked it so many times that now, oh, there it goes. I made a liar out of myself. It was not doing that before. It wasn't releasing. All right, I'm going to spool up the motor. I had to rewire the plug here even to run these. All the machines in my shop are much higher amperage. So I'm going to make up a little jumper cable so that I can get from these machines to my my three-phase power. All right, now again, first time on a clutch machine, so I don't know what to expect. I hear they are notoriously hard to control. One-handed while looking through the camera. I'm gonna look over top of the camera, so if it goes out of frame, I apologize. Just easing onto the throttle here. Oh, you know what I did? All this whole time I had the belt off while I was working on this thing, and here I got so excited I just went to it without putting the belt back on. All right, probably ought to put the belt on if you want to know if something works. The other thing is I'm a little tall at about 6'4". I'm too darn tall for these tables. I'm gonna have to jack these tables up. I don't see a lot of height adjustment on them. I'm gonna have to make something happen. My knee cannot fit under the table. All right, I think she's gonna sew. Let's find out. Real easy. Easing into it. Boy. Hang on, I must have come off the motor pulley or something here. I had come off the motor pulley with the belt. So now we've got a belt on both directions, and it just occurs to me, looking at this, that my bobbin winder is misaligned. So I'm gonna have to scoot that over a little bit. I don't like that it's only, you know, it's catching on just the edge of that belt like that. Not a big fan of that. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to ease onto the throttle. Now just easing onto the throttle. Take it easy. She does take off, but I think I held the thread tight enough to get it locked in. Let's see. Well, she's making stitches, and I miraculously managed to stop with the arm up. So let's see if it'll pull out, because it wasn't pulling out. It wasn't releasing thread before from the bobbin. Moment of truth. Oh, look at that. All right, so I got white on the top. Little heavier it looks like than 69 to me. It looks like 69 on the bottom. I don't know my thread sizes real well. One of these 225s, I thought it was this one, was rigged up with like a 138 maybe in the top. Maybe one of you guys that know your threads better, this does seem a little bigger. Okay, so white on the top, so you can see it there. Pretty even stitch, pretty nice. I'm going to flip that over. And that's the bottom. So I figured this way we could see any, misaligned tensions or anything. It looks pretty good to me. This little vamp or whatever was all sewn up in the factory. These are the first stitches I threw on it, although if you look over here, that's pretty cool. That's another machine, some other machine, but they were doing the same thing. They threaded it up white on black so they could see what the stitch was doing. It's kind of funny. People are people wherever you go. All right, so I'm going to set this thing up and do some serious stitching with it. But in order to do that, I'm going to grab the tripod. I'm probably going to try to just jump right in and make a bag or something. We'll come back to that. All right, I've got these gloves here that need repairing. I know I said I would jump right into a bag, and I will. Eventually, we'll be doing a bag, but I've got these gloves here, and they do need it. Not sure if I can baste this or not. We'll try just running it through, see what happens. This gets folded over. I see what's going on here. And again, I don't have the servo motor supposed to be coming tomorrow, so as soon as I get that, I'll get that installed. That's going to make it a little bit easier to run, I think. Should make it a little slower. I'm going to try. We're going to try to ease on here and see what happens. And now the big problem that people have is locking these stitches off, on a machine with no reverse. So I'm just locking my knee against the table, and actually it's providing quite a lot of control. I can go up to this last stitch, make that stitch, and then simply lift the knee lever and just back up. And put another stitch in there, lock the knee off, let's see. Yep, that's it. And then I want to wait for this stitch lever to come up to its highest position and for the needle to start going down again. That's when you know your thread is loose on the bottom. If you're not in that position where the needle's just coming back down again, the thread can get stuck on the other side of the bobbin. I'm sure the folks out there that know what they're doing, this is pretty simplistic, but for me, I've got no idea what I'm doing. So here, I don't know if I can show this or not, but if I just pull the bobbin thread, the top thread comes through. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but let's see if we're in frame here. Oh yeah, we're in frame. So I pull this top thread, the bottom thread comes through right there, and then you can get that thread, you can pull it through, and you can just tie it off. I probably I should do it from the back side of the project. But again, these are, look, these are gloves that are loaners at the gym. They're just used up by everybody, and it doesn't really matter how good they look. And in fact, I can show you, as I get into this more and more, I'm looking at things. like, okay, this one's not too bad. This one's not awful. You can see a little bit of curve there though. But I was wondering how does everybody keep them straight when the machines are so fast and everything is so aggressive? Well, they don't. There you can see that one. That's the original factory stitching. It's kind of all over the map. So I think that with the servo motor and the ability to be a little smoother, I think the stitching can be just a little nicer than standard. Okay, this one I was able to back up. I did cut it a little short. I maybe shouldn't have cut it so short, but I was able to back up to stitch lock it. Or you saw me manually back it up. And then the one thing that this is all recycled thread. I try to use only natural linen threads. I just don't like plastics and such. But all this came with the machines. And one advantage of polyester threads is you can just melt them down. But there you have it. There's a repaired glove, and it's not bad. Let's see if we can do the other one. So this thing is, I have to say, this machine is pretty neat. It's pretty nice, and I'm already pretty happy with it as far as its usability goes. I don't have a press down here in the shop, so I'm trying to just finger press that. I don't have any pins, any clips, nothing. Just me. I just came down to kind of button up this segment, get this segment done, and get on to the next part of this project. So here, I've got this on, and then I'm going to just double this under and pinch it. And then introduce it to the machine here. Machine, glove, machine. All right, then we'll fold the rest under and see about not taking off here like a rocket. I get the feeling, I was just going to say, I get the feeling that rather like a car, I'll get used to what position the clutch starts to engage in if I use the same machine over and over. But because, well, I guess I don't know if the clutch would be the same head to head or not. My plan is to fix one of these tables with inserts so that I can swap whatever head I want in. That's my plan. Here, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if it'll get up over that or not. It seems like it's going to. Yep, yeah, it is going to. The advantage of the servo motor also is that I can learn to use the thing. I can learn to use the thing and then speed it up. It does have a max speed of 3,200, so I can speed it up once I've learned to use it a little better. Right now I just don't know how to use these things. So with the clutch motor, there's that learning curve is a little steeper in that you have to learn to use the clutch motor that you've got. With the servo, I'll be able to learn at a lower speed, and then as my skill increases, I can pick up the speed a little bit. This manual tying off seems, it might seem like a little bit of a hassle to some people out there, but I have to say, I think that it's kind of a nice thing because you won't have a doubled stitch in an area. You know, it'll just be when I pull this thread through, it pulls through from the top of that stitch line. It doesn't pull through. This one I locked off, and it is. I don't think I locked that one off. Oh no, it's pulling through from the bottom. It pulls through from the top. If I can get it, there it goes. It pulls through from the top, or from the bottom of the stitch, whichever. You know, from the top of the hole, bottom of the stitch. So the nice thing about it is it's going to avoid that that doubled up stitch area. You know, where you got. I never liked, even with hand stitching. I think I'm going to start manually tying off my hand stitches because I never liked the that doubled up. You know, where there's two stitches going through one hole. You know, two and a half holes worth of double stitches. I just never liked the look of that. And here now, I'm seeing that if you do it this way, you end up with a very clean stitch on the back side. I didn't turn this under, or I did, but it came out when the machine gunned itself. So I'm wondering about maybe possibly double stitching this now. But I'll show you. That one's white on the top, and you can see what I mean. There's no, on the ends, there's no double stitch line. That looks like maybe the stitch length isn't as even as I'd like it either. But it's hard to tell. Let's see about throwing a double stitch on this where it opened itself up. Maybe even catching this trim a little. Are we up? No, we're not up. That's not. I also need to remove this stitch guide here. The stitch guide is kind of in the way. All right, so if I do one stitch, say I do want to back up, and then just back up, I accomplish the same thing here. Gotta back up a little more because it's going to feed it forward. And I didn't hold on to the threads, so I got a little lump of thread. That's going to have to be important. Now the FAF is a double needle, so once I get the FAF going, if I want to, if I want to produce a double stitch line like that, the FAF is a double needle, so that'll produce a double stitch line for me. But so far so good. I'm pretty happy. I think this thing for $20, this thing is going to more than do what I want it to do.